Zachary, did you hear that a Terminator reboot might be in the works with James Cameron involved? If so, what are your thoughts? So I heard the headline, I read the headline that James Cameron, it wasn't just a rumor, it's not like speculation, it's not Reddit stuff, it's not these websites that run with any comment they read anywhere. James Cameron said there is discussion about the next Terminator movie, and it was him saying it, so James Cameron is involved in some sense. So what do I make of that? First off, I just kind of always assume that's the case. With any of these major franchises, I just kind of always assume they're probably having some talks about how to continue it on to make more money. And what do I think about the idea of them making another Terminator movie? On the one hand, it's a franchise that I feel they need to take their hands off of it and just let it rest for 10 years. Because audiences are just burned out on this franchise. It just feels like they just kept putting out mediocre reboot sequel thing. Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation. The last four we've gotten all been intended as like a reboot kind of thing that is a continuation of Terminator 2. And every single one of them has ignored the movie that came before. And they've done that so many times that audiences are just kind of fried on it. They're not interested. And I think that's like, why did Terminator Dark Fate really fizzle out at the box office immediately? Because Terminator Genisys came out just a few years before. And then before that was Terminator Salvation. And so it's a franchise where people, like, so much of the audience is like, yeah, the last good one came out 30 years ago. And they're like, the last great one was 30 years ago, and I kind of like this one. But everyone has a different one that they kind of like. There's not really a lot of consensus about, some people hate Dark Fate, some people hate Salvation, some people hate Genisys, some people hate Terminator 3. And so they've just burned out the brand. So I think it just has to sit and rest for a while. My pitch for Terminator after Genisys wouldn't have been Dark Fate. I'm a Dark Fate defender, but if they hadn't done Dark Fate, my pitch would have been in 2024, 40th anniversary, hard reboot. Hard reboot. Back to the original premise, the original setup, the original story of something. Like, there can be differences to it, but get back to its roots. Stop trying to do Terminator 2. Stop trying to make a massive big budget blockbuster. Go back to the original, mid-budget, part horror, part action, part sci-fi. Not the biggest story. It's fairly self-contained, tightly written. And get Leigh Whannell, Invisible Man, Upgrade. Get him to do a remake. Just, he has tight scripts, really well thought out. Have him do it in 2024. Not a $200 million film. Maybe a $50 million film. Maybe less. Just real modest budget and smart script over big budget. You make that movie, and I think you get people excited about it again. Even looking at like Prey, where they didn't try to do a big, gigantic spectacle predator film. Let's do something small, in the past. Doesn't need a gigantic budget. Doesn't need to make a ton of money, but it can get people excited about what you could do with this mythology again. Do that with the Terminator franchise. Leigh Whannell would be my pick to do it. But they did do Terminator Dark Fate. So 2024 is too soon. People need a lot more time. And I think you're looking at do it in 2029. Like the 45th anniversary of the release of the original one. But I think they need to stop trying to copy Terminator 2. Stop trying to do a big blockbuster. Stop just trying to crank these things out. Pause, let it rest, and get back to the roots. And have a modest budget, but a great script. Like, get a interesting storyteller with a vision. You just can't even look at the way that some of these ones kind of played out, where there's like too many cooks in the kitchen. There's a bunch of screenwriters. It's a producer that wants to make a movie, and it's from that perspective. It's not someone with a great idea and a passion bringing their vision to the big screen. You can look at the number of screenwriters on the last 3 Terminator films, and it's all so many different people. And there's someone in there that's always really good, and then there's a bunch of company men just fiddling with it. Like Terminator Salvation, Jonathan Nolan was one of the guys that worked on it. Like Christopher Nolan's brother that helped write Dark Knight and Interstellar, and then did Westworld and Person of Interest. He was one of the writers on it, but he was one of 5 writers on it. There wasn't one guy's vision for what's a great Terminator story. It was all these people's visions for what it was going to be. So stop doing that. Get one person. And don't try and make a movie that's going to make $1 billion or $500 million. Make a really good, modest budgeted film. I think you can do something really cool. I think it's a great mythology. It's a great story and everything, but just stop cranking them out.